Anita and me saved ourselves the privilege as hosts of this work group, this course action, to give you a lecture and set the starting steps, the starting stones for the next 3 days. With our presentation, we want to give an input to offer you some possible answers to the following questions. First, what is gender and what do we mean when we talk about gender bias? I'm sure you all already have worked with that, but it's maybe nice to get some framing again for this. What is the difference between stereotypically and dysfunctionally gendered research and innovation? And why should I use a gendered innovations approach in my own research? Just to set some starting points. A friend of mine from statistic once said to me, and this got stuck in my memory, that gender is a proxy variable. And by this, it was a guy, he meant that the gender ascription, which we often are asking for in surveys, is a variable co-variating with other variables, but not having a causal relationship necessarily to it. So we suggest to you to understand gender as an agglomerate of a variety of different characteristics. And our assumption is that there is no one characteristic that marks gender. And you could also transfer this when talking about sex, I think. So for example, think about body size, think about hormone levels. I'm not a medician, the experts here in the room, but I think this also holds true for hormones. Also think about social characteristics, like who is taking the workload and care work. Think about other social characteristics like the interest in specific professional fields. And in real life, we often have the tendency to see this is male characteristics, these are female characteristics, and when we identify a person as male or female, we make some stereotypical assumptions about their biological and their social characteristics. But then again, in real life, those characteristics are often distributed like a bell curve, and we have people we identify as male, we have people we identify as female, and with regards to those characteristics, we have a high overlap. We have a large gray area, and it is our task, it is our challenge as gender researcher to be sensitive for this gray area, for these overlappings between the genders. I'm talking about the genders, so we suggest to not think about as female and male as sharply definable categories, and that it is good practice not to measure it as binary categories. I took this example for a very for a diversity optimized survey from the so-called proposal for diversity minimal item set. This is a venture of colleagues from the medical field who tried to design a survey that contains all variables that you would need for a sound analysis of the diverse character of your target group of analysis. I'm not going to waste much time on this. All of you know what the diversity wheel is, that we have different layers of identity. We want to make you aware, because this even blurs among researchers often in practice, that there's a difference between the construct of diversity and intersectionalities, that these are different things. And in the summer school, I'm happy we have an expert on the field of intersectionality. Victoria is sitting in the back of the room. Hopefully we can give you a better understanding about the differences between the two concepts. The main problem we are trying to tackle here, what we are criticizing here in the summer school, is a gender bias in research and innovation processes, be they in the medical field, be they in engineering. So it is necessary to clarify what is a gender bias. we define gender bias as systematic biasing effects that is shaped by gender-related stereotyping and prejudices, and that influences our perceptions and our decisions. So there are two different levels. The one is our perceptions, the others are our decisions. Psychology showed that that it shouldn't be mixed, and just because you have biases, you don't necessarily enact them. Gender bias operates not only in everyday situations, in communication and decision making, but also in science and research. For example, in relation to research design and results, as well as personnel policy decisions. Who is getting the grant? I took out two specific problems of this area. The first one is made popular by Caroline Criado Perez with her book Invisible Woman, which some of you may have read. It's a so-called gender-specific data gap, which means a lack of adequately disaggregated data or data collected specifically for women. And what happens in such a situation where we are lacking such kind of data? Due to a lack of awareness and scarce resources, engineers, human resources managers, supervisors, for example, and designers use stereotyping and the so-called I method.
Methodology.
You're going to talk about this later, so I spare this out and might make it more interesting and exciting for you. A teaser, yeah. And often gender differences in trade distributions are overestimated, as I pointed out with the normal distribution graph, or intersectionality is not taken into account appropriately. The second problem is so-called gender essentialism. This means the tendency to justify gender differences as naturally given instead of questioning them. So most of you already heard of confirmation bias. We have a higher probability to believe information if it is in line with our everyday understanding of things, or if it is in line with the knowledge we think we already have. Another thing is cave theory. Last week I was visiting my parents. I went in the cellar, and there I met a book, and I think this book really gave push to this kind of cave theory in the 90s. The English title should be something like
"Women are from." Is it that one?
Now, why women are bad in
parking?
In parking, and men are bad in something else. I forgot it. My confirmation bias.
The English one is males are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Yes.
So this is.
And the book should be in the cellar.
I found the source of evil in the cellar of my parents, and this explained a lot for me with regards to the behavior of my parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, if you're ever here at a conference or in some other context, some colleagues standing up and said, but in Stone Age, women were gatherers and men were hunters, please stand up and leave the room. Another perspective is social dominance beliefs. This is again going more into psychology. Social dominance beliefs means the tendency to accept or to think that some social groups are in a constructed hierarchy above other social groups. And people who have a higher tendency to social dominance beliefs, so it's kind of a value or ideology you get in contact with, as the higher your tendency is also to accept gender essentialism. In some cases, so this leads to the situation that in some cases gender differences are well documented, but they are socially accepted. For example, in IQ tests, we have this situation. We are currently doing research in our research institution to develop gender-sensitive IQ tests. We have old IQ tests, for example, in Germany, which are applied in a lot of human resources processes, which have a very strong gender bias of psychologists here of a D 0.7, which is a remarkable effect. Another thing is technology acceptance. So we tend to accept that women are less interested in certain kinds of technologies than designing the technologies in a more appealing way. I have an example also for this later. And all of you heard already of the gender pay gap, so I don't need to talk about this. Psychologists love, especially neuropsychologists love implicit association tests, which appear a little bit boring when they are conducted. You sit in front of a computer, and then you are then you see some impulses, some words, for example, some colors, some pictures, and then you have to react on this on your computer keyboard. And there's a very prominent website from Harvard University presenting a lot of such implicit association tests. So if you don't want to have siesta today, you go to your accommodation and you try out some of those implicit association tests. This test here is one which measures if a person conducting this test has a higher tendency to associate male with career and female with family. And as you see, this test was conducted here. The results are from 2005 to 2015. In this time frame, the test was conducted from 850,000 people worldwide. And it documents pretty well that the majority of world population has such kind of gender bias. It's really only a minority that has a bias in another direction, associating female more with career, and also a minority that can be deemed to have no bias at all. But again, as I said, to have such kind of biases does not necessarily mean that we enact them. And another important thing about bias in research and innovation is that even a small bias, and often those kind of biases we are seeking for are very small in their effect sizes. Even a small bias can have large scale effects if one person experiences it several times in their career, or if many people experience it, because, for example, a recruitment test is applied among 10,000 people. Here, this is a graphic from a New York Times article in which they made a computer simulation, and they showed the simulation is about a fictive organization that has 8 career levels. So the first levels are the basic workers, the 8th level is the top executive level, and through the years, people proceed in this organization. Every level you see year 1 to year 10, and you have the proportion among men and women. And in the simulation, in the first year on the first level, I think we even have some higher proportion of women a little bit, about 51, 52%, like this. And on the promotion way, from one level to the other level, every time women experience a gender bias, a very small gender bias, their performance is valued only 3% less than male performance. And you see how the scale effects build up. So on level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, we see no real effects, but then level 5, level 6, level 7, and level 8, it becomes the effects become to be very strong. And in year 10 on level 8, I think the proportion of women decreases to something like 10%, or even less. So even if we wouldn't have all those kind of reconciliation issues and similar issues we have in life, just to have prejudices and small gender biases would affect in such a remarkable result. Now I'm closing with some examples, some 3-4 slides. Here's one of stereotypical design. So if we tend to pronounce differences between the genders, then designers tend to the strategy of, we call it shrink it and pink it, to make products more appealing to female customers. When I present this at industry organizations, I always have to say then that
it is not good.
Yeah, no, they would kill me if I would say that. I say I have no problem with this. Okay. It's basically fine to have a pink product, but if you believe that this is the way to target all your female customers and not only a specific subsegment of it, you have a problem in your strategy. And yes, then they usually should start thinking about it. So this is gender stereotypical design. This is interesting, but maybe not enough for a whole research discipline to grab onto. So we are coming now into examples of dysfunctionally gendered research and innovation, and I stole this example from Londa Schiebinger. I hope she won't bring the same example tonight. If so, credits are to her. I like this pretty much because this study published 10 years ago questions all experimental results made with laboratory animals in which pain inhibition plays a role, stress of the laboratory animals plays a role when a man was in the room at the time the experiments were done. So the researchers found that exposure of mice and rats to male but not female experimenters produced pain inhibition among them. So the results had not been that valid. They could have been. What I also love about research is how they write in the abstract, this effect could be replicated with t-shirts worn by men, bedding material from gonadally intact and unfamiliar male mammals and presentation of compounds secreted from the human axilla. So if female colleagues of those men slept in, no, if they were shirts, male colleagues slept in night before, then the effect could be reproduced. So it's about the male hormones, the mice and rats could smell. RSI syndrome, I wanted to Google it again, what RSI syndrome means. In Germany, we call it mouse arm because, and now we're coming again into a gendered field, it is seen as a typical sickness of office workers, of clerks, that are repeatedly sitting on the computer doing the same moves. No, I don't try to say something. I'm not saying something wrong. RSI syndrome. Where does this come? Women are more likely to experience motor fatigue while using technical equipment because the technical equipment is designed to industry standards, and those industry standards are defined according to the body size of average men. And so, for example, we see these challenges at a piano, claviature, keyboard sizes, and even in our bigger and bigger becoming smartphones. Classical example, maybe all of you are aware of, the first female crash test dummy has only now arrived, was published in November 2022 at the National Public Broadcast. So I was surprised when I read this because the female crash test dummy is since long time an object of debate, but it appears that those kind of prototypes are only now being put into practice. And one of my favorite examples, so regarding the relevance of gender aspects in energy and climate technology, especially with regards to smart energy tools. Why are most smart energy tools you're using when you try to regulate your energy consumption with a smart energy app? Why does this often not work? You use this app and then you lay it to the side and you never touch it again. There's a concept from researcher Yolande Stranges, and she identified the resource man, and the resource man from her point of view as a male, not because he always directly is identified as a male, but because he's cast in the image of the male-dominated industries of engineering and economics that permeate energy management. So the resource man is the typical consumer image that people from energy industry have. Moreover, visions of him exclude much of the productive work of the home, which is still carried out by women. The strategies intended for resource men unsurprisingly capture the attention of men more than women. Also, resource women still exist. I have put some examples on this slide. So Yolande Stranger's starts her article with the picture of the resource man. So this is a guy having endless amounts of time, endless amounts of interest in regulating, controlling his energy consumption through an app or some other device. My personal reality and the reality in a lot of households looks like the picture under this resource man. And when I come back home from a hard day of research, creative research work, I'm not interested in opening an app and regulating my energy consumption. One good example for a gendered product, from my point of view, is from gaming, the Nintendo Wii, which was published in the 2000s. The developers of the Nintendo Wii are meanwhile quoted that they wanted to develop a gaming station for young mothers. Why did they imagine young mothers? I tell a short personal anecdote. When my first child was born, I bought myself a PlayStation. And I really liked it. It gave me a great time. But the problem with it was when I started it, it took sometimes half an hour to install updates, and you had a lot of loading times. And it was not seldom that my child woke up again, and the whole playing evening was I could abandon. So I sold my PlayStation, and then I bought a Nintendo Switch because it's not because it's plug and play. You put it on, and you can directly dive into the other more comfortable reality. And if you compare the energy efficiency of the Nintendo Wii, for example, to a PlayStation, it's like comparing a sailing airplane to a jet airplane. So good energy efficient products don't need external management. The energy efficiency is built right within into the product, and the product besides that is fulfilling the needs you have bought it for. And with this real life example, I'm closing and want to give to Anita.
I would like to talk to you a little bit about why should we integrate gender into research and how are we doing it. I think Clemens talked a little bit, or more than a little bit, about the why. That's good. Maybe we're coming back to what Anne-Sophie said in her welcoming speech. So we are doing this also because we see that there is now a pull factor. The European Commission asks for gender in research, and they do not only ask for it like they used to ask for it, but now it's a little bit more complex. And we think with the concept of gendered innovations, and as we said to you, Londa Striebing, she is one of the, as Clemens always coins it, godmothers of the concept of gendered innovations. She will talk to us in the evening, and I'm really looking forward to this. She's explaining it from the heart. And I think this concept is so valuable because it adds value to different points of our research. So it adds value to the research and engineering per se, because we're giving more excellence and more quality to research. I think by putting on gender glasses, you look at things more in detail in general, not just about gender, but you're looking more about how's the user side, for instance, right? So I think, or we know that gender in research and innovation puts more excellence into the field. The second point is we think that it also adds value to companies. So we could also help companies, industry, have more value in their field. They have more new ideas, patents, new technologies, they got new ideas. There is more out there than the norm male. Even most males are not the norm male. We have to think about that too, right? So when we are doing experiments with males, I'm a psychologist in my first profession. When we are doing experiments with males, we talk about young males, healthy males, able-bodied males, etc. So that's not the large population. So we miss a lot of population. And we are adding value to society by making research more responsive to societal needs. You probably heard of the concept of responsible research and innovation. That's what we are referring to also. And I think we can combine those concepts easily. And if you're doing already, so you will see a lot of these things in your research also. So this is what the Horizon Europe program asks for, and I really like that they are especially saying we are not asking you by adding gender, in the research. We're not asking you to merely think about the numbers and the gender balanced teams. We take for granted that you make sure that you have a gender balanced team, right? But we want to go on the next level, and we want you to include gender in research and gender in innovation. And most research organizations, most universities in the STEM fields don't know really how they are doing that, right? So I'm asked as an expert from technology companies and research organizations, and I just recently got asked by an artificial intelligence research company, and they asked me, Anita, how should we do it? And I asked them, can I ask you why you're asking me this? I'm really flattered, right? And they say, oh, we received some really bad comments on our proposals in the Horizon Europe program, and we failed in the gender section. And now we see we are sucking in this gender section. They thought it would be okay. Oh, we have a female team member checked. So, and now they see it's not enough. So I think that's really a very good pull factor. So how can we do it? I think that's what this summer school is for. I will give you a teaser again. We will have the 3 streams really working together with you on your research, working on your questions. We are doing a very interactive thing. So the plenaries, like we are doing it now, talking to you for felt like hours, I'm sure. That's the exception. In our interactive sections, we will really work with you. And this is what I think how it should be done, working with the people on their research questions. So I think this is the heart what we are doing. Maybe just one example from my current research. I'm doing one research which is called Protea. It's about prosthesis. And there we're trying to, in a very interdisciplinary group of engineers and social scientists, to develop and implement a 3D printing prosthesis. And there we include gender and diversity aspects. It's an Austrian project, so it's not a European project. But nevertheless, in Austria, we have a funding line called Femtech, and it's only funded if you include gender and research into the very concept. So, what I try to do in those research projects is introducing the concept of configuring the user as everybody as an idea. So configuring the user as everybody is a famous article from Uzorn et al. And they try to find out why some of the technology we have out there is not working, right? So some of the technology, although when you're asking engineers, when you're asking people who did it, what did you think about it? Did you think about the user at all, right? And then they say, of course, we thought about the user all the time, right? And we thought about the user inside ourselves. And when you ask them, who do you think of as users? Yeah, it's everybody. It should be used by everybody. And this sounds quite equitable. You think, wow, they think of everybody, right? So it must be a very good product. But as you said, Clemens, the best products are designed for specific user groups, for young mothers, for instance. And if you design it for a user group like young mothers who don't have time, for instance, who have a very, very focused aspect of thinking about technology, then it will also serve other user groups. But if you're taking into account only the, I don't know, very experienced gamers, you won't have a product for people who are not into gaming yet. So I think configuring the user as everybody sounds very nice, but it's not good in the end. So by doing it for everybody, you have it for nobody in the end, or not a lot of people. And the so-called I methodology is a concept where designers think that they can come up with what users think. So they think, okay, in the prosthesis project, we need to think about people who have amputated legs, for instance, who have problems with walking, etc. So you're thinking as an able-bodied person about the person who has an amputation, and you, oh, if I would have an amputation, I would do it like that. And so you're thinking it by yourself. Or if you're a little bit open to the concept of talking to users, you talk to one user specifically, and you say, oh, I know one person, my cousin lost his leg due to an accident, so I talked to him, and he's a sporty guy, and he needs the prosthesis to do his sports, etc. And then I'm designing it for persons like him. But this is what we call the hallway method. So you're going out on the hallway and talk to the next best person you have there, your colleagues, etc. And you cannot come out of your bubble because you don't talk to the actual users. In this project, in the Protea project, we found out that 95% of our users are older persons who lost their legs due to diabetes. So I was not aware that there is this high risk of diabetes to lose a limb. So I think this is something worth thinking about. And the next thing is that those users, they have cognitive dysfunctions. If you have diabetes that long that you're losing a leg, diabetes got into your brain. So you have a beginning dementia, you have cognitive problems, and you need to take care of this by developing a prosthesis which is easy, accessible, and if you're putting sensors in it which help to detect if there is too much heat, if there is not enough oxygen, etc., it helps to prevent another amputation, because those people cannot talk about those things anymore. They don't feel it anymore. So this is the thing we found out in this project, with interviews, with focus groups, with small tests, etc. So what we are doing in my research group, we are applying a participatory technology design approach. We're working very closely with users, but users are not always the end users. So if you think about people who have dementia, etc., you cannot work immediately with them. You have to have intermediaries. So we are working with therapists, with technicians, etc. So we are working with the people who are working with users, and then additionally we're talking to users, of course. And what I want to do is also raise an awareness for non-binary understanding. So most of the time in my research, I'm not talking a lot about gender. I'm talking about diverse bodies, and I talk about diverse needs, and I talk about intersectionality in terms of how can we reach social justice with the development of our technology, for instance. So where are the fields where inequalities are happening? And they are very often happening at the crossroads of, for instance, gender and age, or socioeconomic background or race, etc. So I think it is very, very important to think about specifics. And that's what I mean when I say by putting on the gender glasses, we're thinking about so much more than just gender. So I think this is just to sum it up a little bit. What is gender? What is gender bias? We talked about this. Gender bias refers to the unequal treatment of opportunities. That's important. And the difference between stereotypically and dysfunctionally gendered R&I is that stereotypically gendered R&I reinforces gender norms, and therefore it comes to inequality. And dysfunctionally gendered R&I overlooks the significance of gender by saying, oh, we are all the same, right? We're doing something for the everybody's out there. Everything's good. And why should we use the gendered innovations approach? Yeah, I think we said it enough. It promotes inclusivity. It improves the research quality. We really know that it fosters innovation and social justice. So that's what we are here for. And I'm so excited that you're all here and working on this. And when you go back, you will serve as multipliers. You will spread the word, and that's very, very, very good for us. So thank you very much.